The waters around Iran are heating up, with the US alarmingly increasing its military presence. The US military says US aircraft carrier has arrived in West Asia. Tehran says that any attack will be met with a sweeping and regret-inducing response.
The situation in the Arabian Sea has escalated to a point where, if you were standing on the shores of the Gulf, you'd feel the weight of something massive building. No one is pretending this is just another diplomatic squabble. No, this time the stakes are higher. The chessboard has been set, and the pieces are moving fast. Let's rewind a little to get the context. Last time, the United States didn't hold back. They hit Iran where it really hurt, its nuclear infrastructure. Boom. It wasn't just a military strike, it was a statement, a bold declaration that America was ready to play hardball. And as much as the White House might like to claim the negotiations are still on the table, let's face it, the gloves are off. Fast forward to now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President Donald Trump are in the White House. What's on the agenda? Iran's nuclear ambitions. What else? The last time negotiations were supposed to happen, it turned into an ambush. Iran launched an attack while talks were still underway. Talk about bad timing, right? The president had his senior team in a meeting. He made it clear, we should cut a deal. Yes, but if we can't, well, then there are options, lots of them. What are these options? To be blunt, it's about the big stick. America's military is the most powerful force in the world. And trust me, it's not about sending flowers and peace treaties. It's about strength, leverage, and making sure Iran knows that America will do what it has to secure its interests. Now let's talk about the events that unfolded as these discussions were happening. An American fighter jet, the F-35, shot down an Iranian drone. This was no random act. The drone was approaching the USS Abraham Lincoln, a US aircraft carrier stationed in the Arabian Sea. The drone didn't just accidentally fly toward the carrier. No, this was deliberate. The US sent multiple warnings. They even activated their targeting systems, thinking of it as a clear, stay away message. But Iran didn't listen. They pushed forward anyway. Why? To test the waters, to see if America would flinch. In the end, it wasn't just a drone flying into restricted airspace. It was a reconnaissance mission disguised as a provocation. Iran got what it came for: photos of the carrier, its entire strike group, destroyers, and everything in between. But in return, America hit back. The drone was shot down. A message was sent, loud and clear. And here's the thing. This wasn't a one-off. Oh no. The very same day, in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran sent 2 boats and another drone to harass a US-flagged merchant vessel. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't just a squabble between military forces. This is about signaling intentions. Iran wasn't just sending a message to the US, it was testing the limits of what America would accept. It's no longer a game of just keep your distance. It's about seeing how far they can push before America retaliates. Meanwhile, Trump is making his own signals from Washington. His words, Iran had a chance before, but it didn't work out. Now we have Midnight Hammer on the table. Midnight Hammer, that's not just a name. It's the operation that dropped 12 bunker-busting bombs on Iran's critical nuclear facilities. The message? We're not afraid to go there again. If the talks fail, that's the backup plan. And that's not a comment made lightly. The strategy is clear. Diplomacy is the goal, but it's not the only tool in the box. The Pentagon is already positioning itself. A second aircraft carrier, the USS George H.W. Bush, is now on standby, ready to roll into the Middle East at a moment's notice. And the purpose of this? It's about more than just keeping a military presence. It's about preparing for the next steps. America is strengthening its strike capabilities, not as a message of peace, but as a reminder of what it can do. Now let's take a moment to think about the scale of this military buildup. The USS Abraham Lincoln is already stationed about 500 miles from Iran's southern coast, and joining it, a whole fleet of destroyers, guided missile ships, and soon, the second carrier. Let's just say, this is not your average show of force. This is a carefully calculated plan, building momentum toward something bigger, something more serious. Iran has already tried its hand with limited missile attacks, like the one that hit the US base in Qatar back in June 2025. But now, with the possibility of 2 carriers operating simultaneously, the stakes have been raised. This isn't about harassing Iran anymore. It's not even about sending a message. This is about laying the groundwork for a potential military conflict, one that is shaping up to be larger than anything we've seen in years. And the US military? It's pulling out all the stops. But don't be fooled into thinking this is just about missile defense systems and military drills. Iran's own rhetoric tells us everything we need to know about their state of mind. They know what's coming. Their foreign minister has already warned that if America attacks, it won't just be about Iran. It'll be a regional conflict. All U.S. bases in the Gulf are now prime targets, and Iran is not backing down from that. You know, analysts have been saying for weeks now that two carriers in the region are not about backup or extra firepower. No, they're there to deal with the real threat: Iran's determination to not back down. Their ability to stretch America's patience has been on display for months. But now, the situation is shifting. In the background, satellite images show Iran making significant repairs to its missile infrastructure, not its nuclear sites. Why? Because missiles are Iran's only form of deterrence. They've learned from the past. Their nuclear sites are vulnerable to airstrikes, but missiles make any attack on Iran costly. So while America loads its aircraft carriers, Iran is digging in its heels. It's a test of who can withstand the most pressure. And from where I'm standing, this tension is far from over. We're seeing the buildup of the largest American naval presence in the region in years, all in response to Iran's moves. In just a few days, F-35 stealth fighters will be in Jordan, F-15s will be ready for takeoff, and B-2 bombers might even be getting into position. This isn't just posturing, this is a military formation preparing for something big. But let's not be naive. This isn't just about military might. This is about what happens next. What happens when diplomacy fails? We know what happened in June 2025. America hit hard and Iran didn't flinch. But now, the situation has escalated, and there's a real possibility we could be on the verge of something more dangerous. So, what does this all mean for the average person? Well, it means that the next few days, maybe weeks, could shape the future of global security. Whether you're in Washington, Tehran, or anywhere in between, the question is the same: who's going to blink first? So, where does this all go from here? Two carriers in the Arabian Sea, heightened rhetoric, and military buildups. It's like a powder keg, with every move pushing us closer to a potential explosion. But here's the thing: while the military buildup is front and center, the real question is, what happens when the pressure finally bursts? Let's start with the reality of what the U.S. has done by sending the USS George H.W. Bush to join the USS Abraham Lincoln. On paper, it's a simple reinforcer of U.S. military presence in the region. But for anyone paying attention, it's clear: this is no accident. This isn't about deterring Iran from crossing some boundary, it's about forcing Iran into a corner. We have the most powerful military in the world, Trump keeps saying. And he's not wrong. With 2 aircraft carriers, 7 destroyers, and a fleet of aircraft, including stealth bombers and F-35 fighters, America is sending a loud, unmistakable message. And here's the kicker: Iran knows exactly what that message is. The US isn't simply waiting for the right moment to negotiate, they're preparing to strike. The real question is, will they do it? Let's break this down. Iran has been building its missile arsenal for years now. Why? It's simple. Missiles are the only thing that keeps them from becoming a target. The longer they can make it costly for the US to strike, the better their chances of survival. But America? They've figured out how to neutralize that deterrent. Iran's strategy has always been about leverage. They know they can't compete with the US military head-to-head, so they've built an intricate web of defenses, missiles, drones, and underground facilities. But as we've seen, those defenses are only as good as the airspace around them. And with 2 carriers parked in the region, it's not just the Iranian military that's being challenged, it's their very ability to defend themselves that's on the line. Let's take a second to remember that incident when the USS Abraham Lincoln shot down the Iranian Shahed 139 drone. While Iran might have thought it was conducting a routine reconnaissance mission, it was actually a clear provocation. The drone wasn't simply gathering intel, it was testing how far America would let them push before striking back. And America, it didn't hesitate. The drone was destroyed. But here's the twist: Iran didn't stop there. The same day, in the Strait of Hormuz, they sent 2 IRGC boats and another drone to challenge a US-flagged merchant ship. This wasn't just a harassment tactic. This was Iran testing America's limits when 2 crises hit at once. And guess what? The US Navy didn't flinch. They responded immediately, sending a destroyer and air support to ensure the tanker's safety. This isn't small stuff. What Iran is doing here is calculated. They're pushing boundaries, seeing how far they can stretch before America cracks. And while America keeps playing the diplomacy first card, Don't be fooled. Every time Iran makes a move, they are feeding America's justification for even more aggressive posturing. Now, let's talk about what happened after Trump's 3-hour meeting with Netanyahu. The Israeli Prime Minister came to Washington with one goal: to ensure that the U.S. doesn't back off from its hardline stance on Iran. Netanyahu didn't want any deal that leaves Iran's missiles intact. And Trump? Well, he wasn't exactly disagreeing. He referenced Midnight Hammer, the operation that wiped out Iran's nuclear sites with precision strikes. He even warned, unprompted, that the U.S. could do it again if necessary. But here's where things get interesting. Trump said negotiations were still ongoing. Yet, at the same time, he made it clear that the military option was still firmly on the table. This is the dilemma: negotiation or war, diplomacy or destruction. And with America's second aircraft carrier preparing to join the fray, it's obvious that Washington is ready to fight if the talks break down. So, what does a second aircraft carrier mean for Iran? Well, this changes everything. The USS George H.W. Bush isn't just a backup, it's an escalation. With 2 carriers now in the region, America gains the ability to hit targets simultaneously from different directions. One carrier could strike Iran's missile sites, while the other covers critical U.S. positions in the Gulf. The 2 carriers could coordinate a multi-pronged attack. And with U.S. destroyers, stealth fighters, and even B-2 bombers in the area, Iran would be facing a military force that it simply can't defend against. But here's the kicker. Iran is already preparing its counter moves. They've been accelerating their missile programs. They've deployed long-range missiles that can reach U.S. bases in the Gulf. This isn't just about nuclear weapons anymore. This is about deterrence. Iran's military strategy is built on making any attack too costly for the U.S. to execute. But with the second carrier in play, America is closing in on Iran's defenses. And the window for Iran to deter the U.S. is rapidly shrinking. So what does this all mean for the region? It's simple. Escalation is inevitable. With both sides locked in a dangerous game of chicken, there's only so much room for maneuvering. America is preparing for a sustained operation. Whether that means more airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, more drone interceptions, or something bigger, we don't know yet. But what's clear is that if diplomacy fails, the world could be looking at the biggest military showdown since the 2025 strikes on Iran. But here's where we need to take a step back. Why is this happening? Why are we on the brink of war? The short answer: because neither side trusts the other. Iran doesn't believe America will negotiate in good faith, and the US doesn't believe Iran can be trusted to keep its word. In the middle of all this, you have 2 countries with vastly different worldviews, both armed with powerful military forces, both with very different agendas. And what does this mean for ordinary people? Well, it's not just about geopolitics. This is a story about what happens when countries push their interests too far, when diplomacy falls short, and when the world stands on the edge of conflict. The situation in the Arabian Sea isn't just about America and Iran, it's about the global balance of power, about who gets to call the shots in the Middle East, and about what the future holds for us all. The next few days could be crucial in shaping the future of international relations. Will the US strike? Will Iran respond with more aggression? Or will talks succeed and we see a step back from the brink? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, this is far from over. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think is coming next? Will diplomacy hold, or is a military strike inevitable? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've been following this story closely, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on the latest developments. We'll be right here, breaking down all the important news as it unfolds. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.